Hello and welcome back to the channel at the end of day one of our build, and I'm going to start calling this new series the Boss 302 Ultimate Build. So I'm going to have everything to do with this build on this playlist, so you guys follow along on this one. So I spoke to you guys on Friday. We got started on the car. I laid everything out. I told you we were going to get working, and after spending about half the day getting the last of the parts and setting up the quick jacks, which I'll talk about with you guys right now, it takes a little bit of time to get this thing set up. We put about 4 hours in on the build, and we've actually got a fair amount of stuff done, and I'm going to go over it all for you guys right now. So let's go take a look at what we've got done and what we're going to be working on today. All right, guys. So we got the car up in the air with these awesome quick jacks. Now, I didn't talk about them in the first video because I did order these, and for us in Canada, Costco actually had a really good sale on them. So they were like $13.99 or something like that. So good for us Canadian guys. I think normal retail is $18.99. So I actually did pretty good on that little setup. So they're pretty nice. But one little tip in case you guys are thinking about getting one of these guys, just over here is the reservoir for them, and they don't ship any hydraulic fluid or ATF to go in it. And so I had to actually run out and go grab that, and one of the places I went, they didn't have any, so I had to go farther down into town to try and get some. And then it's kind of you got to set up all the lines, you got to do all the connections and actually use Teflon tape and thread lock everything. So you got to connect all these guys, got to connect them to the hoses. You got to bleed the system. And then on the actual rails themselves, a couple things just so you guys are prepared. You're going to have to make sure you've got an air compressor, and you're going to actually have to put about 40 to 50 pounds of air pressure on this cylinder right here in order to get the system primed. And then on the other end, right down here, there's actually like a little hydraulic bleeder, and you gotta hold these rails upright so this is now facing up, and then you actually gotta loosen it until the air comes out and you start to get a little bit of hydraulic fluid, just enough just to get to bleed the air, and then tighten it back down. So by the time you've done that, and you've made all these connections and everything else, it just took me a little bit of time. So we got it all done, but I can tell you I am never going back to jack and jack stands again if I can help it. You get lots of clearance. You can see the one over axle pipe just hanging out there. The only downfall I would say is when I normally did the exhaust before and I had the car jacked up in the air from the rear, I think I had an extra inch of clearance to get that one over axle tube out, and that one's just not coming out. So what I'm going to do is when we end up doing the rear here, we're probably going to drop the axle a little bit once we unbolt everything, especially the shocks and all that stuff. So when that comes out, that'll probably give me that little bit of clearance just to get that pipe out of the way. So I'm not putting the exhaust on to the very end because we've got the one-piece drive shaft and we've got the shifter and everything else to do. So it's better to just have all that out of the way. And then we're doing the new Watts link, which is going to be really cool. But I will show you guys, just so you know, that I do have the white line Watts link still in the car. So that's going to be coming out and going over to one of my good friends, and he's going to enjoy that unit. It's been on the car since day one, so to the best of my knowledge, it's got about 30,000 kilometers on the unit, but it's in great shape. I've kept it pretty clean, so he's going to enjoy that. And what's going to be really cool is I'm going to actually be able to be a person that can give you guys a comparison of a white line to a Cortex. All right, next. So as you guys know, if you've got a Performance Pack GT or a Boss 302, you're going to have the Brembo 4-piston brakes and the Boss 302 shocks, and I've got the Ford Racing T-springs in there, so the car was a little low, but not too low. So this is driver's side, and what I'm going to show you guys today, I'm going to kind of sneak past a couple other things we've done. Yes, I'll get to them, don't worry. Here's our new setup. So we have the GT500 6-piston on there, and I've got a set of G-Lock R8 pads, and then the Power Stop slotted rotors. Now, I went with these. There's lots and lots and lots of different options out there when it comes to rotors. I didn't want to go full crazy and get a set of gyro discs, which they'll probably be the next brakes that I put on it, rotors. they're significantly lighter. These guys are heavier. These are about 30 pounds for this one rotor. So you're going up in weight on the rotor for the car. The calipers are about the same, but it's the fact that I'm adding that rotational mass to the car that I'm not thrilled about, but it's, you know, it's something you got to compromise on when you're thinking about better braking and down the road. Yes, I could put the different rotors on there, which puts these 15-inch rotors in about the same weight as the 14-inch. And then they're also rebuildable, so over time it kind of saves you a bit of money, but nonetheless. So I'll show you some of the things we did. Cortex JRI double adjustables, they are in. And I'm currently using the stock end links. Eventually, I probably should swap these out. I talked to Philip at Cortex, who, by the way, super awesome guy, very kind, spent a lot of time on the phone with me going over a bunch of things and over these coilovers. Even though I bought them secondhand, he was very willing to kind of help me out and talk to me about them and what I needed to finish the build on with them, as well as that's how I ended up getting the Watts link from him. So we've many more parts I will be getting from him as we continue to, the car continues to evolve. But those are on. As you can see, I've got my Goodrich brake line on there, and I will actually pull this guy. See if we can get this one to turn. There we go. And we've actually got our brake dust shield with the vent on it. So this guy's pretty slick. Like I said, he's the only person who's currently making these for a GT500. What I will do is I will put links to everything in the description of this video, because I'm going to kind of do this build and break it down bit by bit. So I don't want to put everything in one video. I want to keep them nice and short for you guys. So I will put this guy on here. These are from Blowfish Racing. This is their brake duct hoses. And when we go over to the front of the car, you can kind of see, I haven't hooked up the hose yet, so it might be really hard to tell, but these are the Blowfish Racing ducts that replace the fog lights. So those are in. They're on a bit of an angle. If I go like this, maybe you can kind of see the angle. Kind of opens up a little bit. They're on a different angle, but I think with a little bit of finessing, I can still get it in there and clear the fluid, the windshield washer fluid. Now, another thing I did here was I actually trimmed this guy straight down just to give myself the room. The hose is not where it's supposed to be. It's kind of going to be, you know, something like that. So it's going to be tight to that. So I had to clearance this off. So I was debating back and forth. Do I kind of make a nice little round cut? And it already had this kind of line in it. So I just thought, you know what? I'll just follow the line and zip it right down. And that kind of turned out pretty good. So the last thing to talk about on this video before we wrap her up is we took off the front bumper and we started to install the front splitter. Now this is the one that my buddy Dylan made up. So he actually came over and gave me a hand, because he's taken his bumper off so many times that he was like, you know what? I can help you out with this. I can get it off and get it on. So we've got a few more things to do. We've got to actually trim the centerpiece, which we have sitting here on the stand. So I don't have the Laguna Seca version of this lower grill. So on the Laguna Seca, these openings are actually a little bit bigger and they allow the rod to poke through. So instead we're going to have to line it up and then probably just notch out some of these guys so I can get the rod to kind of poke through. We're going to try and do it as clean as we can, make sure it looks really nice, but that'll be coming up next. Got the shield off. The old Flowmaster exhaust is off the car, so we will be getting that on. And the one thing I forgot to mention to you guys that I did add was the BBK 85mm throttle body. Now I put this on the car briefly because I'm still trying to figure out that weird hesitation issue car's having, but this actually helped. So it's snappier throttle response, I guess would be the best way to put it. I think that's how most people have described it when they were checking it out online and you read reviews on it. Everyone seems to say like, yeah, maybe it adds horsepower, but it just seems to improve throttle response. So I'm happy with that. And it's kind of cool that when you look at it, these actually kind of line up with these guys. So I thought that was kind of cool. And let's see if I can get in there, get a good angle on it. Got the MMR water pump pulley already on. I've got to pop this guy off and do the thermostat, but it's going to be super messy. So I'm kind of waiting to do that one a little bit later when we're done the front end of the car. I just don't, you know, I can try and catch as much of the coolant as I can if a catch can, but, or catch pan, but it's still gonna go everywhere. So I don't wanna do that just yet. I wanna wait. And that's really it right now, guys. It's coming along. Today's goal is we're gonna do the brakes on the other side. We're gonna get those ones squared up, so at least I've got the front end kind of done. I'm gonna finish connecting the hoses, get that all on there. We're gonna start tackling the back, and that's gonna be the big challenge because we've got to pull the axles out to do the new wheel studs. They're gonna be longer. We've also, with the rear of the brakes, we've got to do the new caliper brackets, those Blowfish ones, which are just right over here. So we've got these guys that have got to go on. And again, I can show you guys the breakdown on the parts and everything and why I chose to do it this way. At the end of the day, what I decided is you can buy the GT500 brake kit from like American Muscle, Late Model Restoration. I think even CJ Pony Parts has it. And it's basically stock GT500 calipers, rotors. You get new calipers for the rear. You get the factory brackets for the rear. You get factory rubber hoses and factory pads for the kit. It's not bad, and I think it's about $19.50 US for the whole kit. What I decided to do was I knew that most of those parts I was going to upgrade over time, and I thought, okay, let's just add it all up and see what it costs to actually build the kit from scratch, doing it the way I want it with the brake ducts and everything else and the shields. And I think it ended up costing me about $800 more, and that's to have slotted rotors, that's to have the upgraded Blowfish bracket in the back, that's to have the brake ducts in the front with the hoses and the new dust shields in the front as well, and then better pads and the stainless steel brake lines. So when you add it all up, it's not too bad. I bought the calipers brand new from Ford. The only downside I would say to that, when you're looking at doing this, is there's going to be a core charge, and you're not bringing in another pair back, so you're eating that core charge. And in Canada, it was about, I think it was $70 a caliper. So I paid $500, $600 or so for the calipers, and then you got the core charge on top. So I had two of them, so it's $1,200. So, and this is all Canadian dollars, guys, so you got to kind of think of it that way. But you can, change it up if you want. Like I said, I'll put all the parts in the link below. This is just day one, part one, just of the brakes. So after that, you guys can ask some more questions about the next parts that are going on the car. Leave them in the comments below. Again, please subscribe. This is going to be a crazy build. We are going to get to the rest of these parts because, yeah, we still have a lot. This is all the old stuff here, but man, we still have a lot of new stuff to go into the car. New wheels just chilling, hanging out. Diff cover for the Cortex. I mean, it's all here, right? Ready to go. We've just got a lot of work to get it going on this thing. So, all right, fingers crossed, guys. Wish me luck. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.